Captain Lee Dong-yun sat in his command chair, watching the stars through the main screen of his ship. The Terra's Edge was a large exploration vessel, one of humanity's finest ships. It had been 3 months since they left Earth's space, and Dong-yun was getting tired of seeing nothing but empty space and dead planets. The bridge was quiet except for the soft hum of the ship's engines. His crew worked at their stations, checking sensors and monitoring space around them. It was a normal day, just like the hundreds of other normal days they had spent traveling through the Kepler 442 system. "Captain," called Park Min-ho from the communication station. "I'm getting something strange on the long-range sensors." Dong-yun turned his chair toward the young officer. Park Min-ho was good at his job, but he looked worried. "What kind of strange?" "It's a signal, sir. Very weak, but it's definitely artificial. Someone made this signal." Min-ho pressed some buttons on his console. "It's not coming from any human, ship, or station." Commander Kim Soo-young, the ship's first officer, walked over to Min-ho's station. She was a smart woman who had served with Dong-hyun for 5 years. "Are you sure it's not just space noise?" "No, ma'am. This is a real transmission, but it's in a language I've never heard before." Min-ho looked up at his captain. "Sir, I think this might be our first contact with aliens." The bridge became very quiet. Everyone stopped what they were doing and looked at their captain. First contact with alien life was something every human had dreamed about, but no one expected it to happen like this. "Put it on speakers," Dong-hyun ordered. "Let's hear what we're dealing with." The speakers crackled to life with a mixture of static and strange sounds. The voice that came through was clearly not human. It had a musical quality, like someone singing, but the words were completely unknown. "Dr. Choi Hana to the bridge," Dong-yun said into his communication device. Dr. Choi was the ship's expert on languages and alien life. If anyone could figure out this message, it would be her. A few minutes later, Dr. Choi Hana arrived on the bridge. She was a small woman with sharp eyes who had studied every known language on Earth. She listened to the alien signal for several minutes, her face growing more serious. "Captain, this is definitely an alien language," she said. "But there's something else. The tone, the way they're speaking. This sounds like a distress call." "Can you translate any of it?" Soo-young asked. "Give me some time. I need to run this through the computer and look for patterns." Dr. Choi worked with Min-ho at the communications station, trying to break down the alien words. Hours passed. The crew waited nervously as Dr. Choi and her team worked on the message. Finally, she looked up with a pale face. "Captain, I've managed to translate parts of it. It's not good news." She pressed a button and the alien voice played again, but this time with human words appearing on the screen. "Defense failing, children dying. Please, any civilization, help us." The bridge fell silent. Dong-yun felt a cold feeling in his stomach. Somewhere out there, an alien race was crying for help. "There's more," Dr. Choi continued. "I can make out what they call themselves. They're called the Villani, and they're being attacked by something called the Krek's Dominion." "How far away is this signal coming from?" Dong-yun asked. Min-ho checked his instruments. "About 12 light years, sir. The signal is old, maybe 3 weeks. Can you get more of the message?" Dr. Choi nodded and played another section. This time, more words appeared on the screen. "Unprovoked attack. We are peaceful people. Never harmed anyone. They came without warning." Commander Soo-young moved closer to the captain's chair. "Sir, what are you thinking?" Dong-yun stared at the screen, thinking hard. Humanity had rules about first contact with aliens. They were supposed to be careful, study the situation, and report back to Earth before taking any action. But this was different. These aliens were asking for help. "Keep working on the translation," he told Dr. Choi. "I want to know everything this message says." Over the next few hours, more pieces of the message became clear. The Villani were a peaceful race of traders and explorers. They had never fought a war and had no military ships. The Krek's Dominion had appeared in their space without warning and began destroying their planets. The worst part came when Dr. Choi translated the final section of the message. The alien voice, which they now knew belonged to someone called Ketha 9, spoke with obvious sadness. "We are the last ship. Our homeworld burns if anyone receives this. Remember us. Tell the galaxy that the Villani tried to live in peace. Then the message cut to static. Dongyun stood up from his chair and walked to the main screen. Somewhere out there, an entire civilization was being destroyed by attackers who gave them no chance to surrender or escape. "Captain," Suyong said, quietly, "we need to contact Earth Command. This is bigger than anything our ship can handle." "I know," Dongyun replied, "but by the time we contact Earth and they send help, it might be too late for any survivors." He turned to face his crew. Every person on the bridge was looking at him, waiting for his decision. He thought about the rules, about following proper procedures, about keeping his crew safe. Then he thought about the voice in that message, crying out for help that might never come. "Minho, open a channel to Admiral Yang Wujin at Fleet Command," he ordered. "Priority Alpha transmission." "Sir, that will reveal our position to anyone listening," Suyong warned. "I don't care," Dongyun said. "We're not going to let an entire race die while we follow paperwork procedures." The main screen changed to show Admiral Yang Wujin, a tough man with gray hair who commanded humanity's defense fleet. "Captain Lee, this is unexpected. What's your situation?" "Admiral, we've received a distress call from an alien civilization. They're being attacked and possibly wiped out by a hostile force called the Krex Dominion." Admiral Yang's eyes became very serious. "Send me everything you have, Captain, and prepare your ship for immediate departure to those coordinates." "Sir, are you sure this could be a trap?" "Captain, humanity has spent centuries preparing for the day we would meet other intelligent life. If the first thing we learn is that some aliens destroy peaceful civilizations for no reason, then we already know everything we need to know about them." The transmission ended, and Dongyun turned to his crew. "All hands, prepare for immediate. Jump to hyperspace. We're going to answer that distress call." As the Terra's Edge prepared to leave for unknown space, none of them knew they were about to start the first galactic war in the history of the universe. Admiral Yang Wujin stood in the command center of the human fleet's main base, watching dozens of screens, showing ships from all across human space. In the 3 days since Captain Lee's message, Yang had done something that had never been done before. He had called every single human military ship to gather in one place. The sight was amazing. Massive battleships that could destroy planets floated next to smaller cruisers and quick fighter ships. There were 847 ships in total, representing every world that humans had settled. It was the largest military force in human history. "Admiral," called Fleet Engineer Bei Taehyung from his station. "All ships report ready for departure. Weapons are loaded, engines are running hot, and crews are eager to fight." Yang nodded but kept staring at the screens. He was a man who had fought in every human conflict for the past 30 years. But this was different. They were not fighting other humans over territory or resources. They were going to fight aliens who destroyed peaceful civilizations. "Sir," said intelligence analyst Park Hyun-woo, walking up with a data pad. "We've been listening to space communications while the fleet gathered. We're picking up a lot of alien chatter." "What kind of chatter?" "Well, sir, it seems like we've been watched for a long time. There are dozens of alien civilizations out there, and they all know about us." Park Hyun-woo looked nervous. "Some of the things they're saying are interesting." Yang took the data pad and read through the translated alien messages. Most were in simple galactic trade language that Dr. Choi Hana had learned to understand. "The Deathworlders are moving," read one message. "They have gathered their war fleet. The peaceful galaxy trembles." Another message said, "Alert all ships to avoid human space. The planet killers are preparing for battle." Yang looked up at Park Hyun-woo. "Planet killers? Deathworlders? What are they talking about?" "That's what I've been trying to figure out, sir. It seems like most alien races call Earth a death world. From what I can understand, most planets where intelligent life grows are much safer than Earth." Yang frowned. "Safer how?" "No dangerous predators, sir. No natural disasters, stable weather, plenty of food. Most aliens evolved on worlds where the biggest danger was maybe running out of food or water." Park Hyun-woo pulled up more information. Earth is apparently famous in galactic databases as one of the most dangerous planets known to support intelligent life. And they think that makes us dangerous? Yes, sir. They believe any species that could survive on Earth would be incredibly good at fighting and killing. Park Hyun-woo paused. From their messages, it sounds like most alien militaries are more like police forces. They've never had to fight a real war. Yang thought about this information. Humans had always wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now he was learning that not only were there many other intelligent species, but most of them were afraid of humans. What about this Krex dominion that's attacking the Villani? That's where it gets interesting, sir. The Krex have been conquering other species for hundreds of years, but according to these communications, no one has ever been able to stop them. Park Hyun-woo showed Yang another message. The reason is simple. Most alien species don't know how to fight wars. When the Krex attack, the other aliens just surrender or run away. Pilot Commander Lim Jisoo walked over to join the conversation. She was the leader of the fleet's fighter squadrons, and she had been listening to the alien communications too. Admiral, I've been talking to my pilots about this. If these aliens really don't know how to fight, then we have a huge advantage. How so? Well, sir, human pilots train for combat in 3 dimensions. We're used to fighting in space where there's no up or down, where enemies can come from any direction. Lim Jisoo pointed to the screens showing the fleet. Most of our tactics come from centuries of warfare on Earth. Naval battles, air combat, tank warfare. We know how to adapt. Yang was beginning to understand. Humans had spent their entire history fighting each other. Every military tactic, every weapon design, every strategy had been tested in real combat against other humans who were just as smart and just as determined to win. Admiral, called another officer. Captain Lee's ship is requesting permission to join the main fleet. Granted, have them dock with the flagship. I want to hear their report in person. An hour later, Captain Lee Dong-yun and his senior officers were standing in the Fleet Command Center. Dr. Choi Hana carried several data pads full of information about the alien distress call. Captain, report, Yang ordered. Sir, the situation is worse than we thought, Dong-yun began. Dr. Choi has been able to translate more alien communications. The Krex Dominion isn't just attacking the Villani. They've been systematically destroying every peaceful civilization they encounter. Dr. Choi Hana stepped forward. Admiral, I've identified at least 15 different species that have sent out distress calls in the past year. The Krex attack, without warning, destroy all military resistance and then either enslave the survivors or kill them. What about other aliens? Why don't they help each other? Because they can't, sir, Dr. Choi replied. From what I can understand, most galactic civilizations are peaceful traders and explorers. They don't have real military forces, and they don't know how to work together in combat. Commander Kim Soo-young added, We've also learned why the Krex are so successful. They use massive numbers of ships to overwhelm their enemies. Their strategy is simple. Bring so many ships that the enemy gives up without fighting. Yang walked to the main display showing the human fleet. And how many ships do the Krex have? According to the alien communications we've intercepted, their main fleet has over 3,000 ships, Park Hyun-woo answered. The command center became quiet. The human fleet was large for humanity, but 847 ships against 3,000 seemed impossible. However, Dr. Choi continued, there's something else. We've been monitoring communications from other alien species, and many of them are talking about our fleet movement. Some of them sound hopeful. Hopeful? Yes, sir. It seems like many species have been waiting for someone to stand up to the Krex. They just never had anyone strong enough to do it. Dr. Choi showed Yang a translated message. The Deathworlders move toward battle. Perhaps the galaxy will finally see justice. Yang studied the message. Are any of these other species willing to help us? Unknown, sir. But they're definitely watching to see what happens. Bai Tai-young spoke up from his engineering station. Admiral, I've been analyzing the technical data about Krex ships that Dr. Choi translated. Their ships are big and heavily armored, but they're also slow and not very maneuverable. What does that mean for us? It means our ships are faster and more flexible, sir. Human ship design is based on the idea that we might have to fight other humans who are just as smart as we are. We build ships that can adapt to different situations. Bai Taehyung pulled up technical diagrams. Krek's ships seem to be designed for overwhelming firepower, not tactical flexibility. Yang nodded slowly. So we might be outnumbered, but we're not outclassed. That's correct, sir, Commander Soo-young said. But there's something else to consider. According to the alien communications, the Kreks have never faced serious resistance. They might not be prepared for an enemy that fights back effectively. Admiral Yang looked around the command center at his officers. These were some of the best military minds humanity had produced, and they were telling him that the human fleet might actually have a chance against a much larger enemy force. Admiral, Dr. Choi said quietly, there's one more thing. I've managed to decode the coordinates from the original Villani distress call. If we move fast, we might be able to save some survivors. Yang made his decision. All ships, prepare for immediate departure. We're going to show this galaxy what happens when you attack innocent people in front of humans. As the massive human fleet prepared to jump to hyperspace, alien observers throughout the galaxy watched and wondered if they were about to see the end of the Krex Dominion's reign of terror. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Thuro system, and what they saw made even the most experienced officers feel sick. The planet that had once been home to millions of Villani was now a burned wasteland. Massive Krex ships floated in orbit, using giant machines to strip away the planet's resources. My God, whispered Captain Lee Dong-yun as he stared at the main screen of his ship. The planet's surface was covered in dark scars where cities used to be. They destroyed everything. Admiral Yang Wujin's voice came through the communication system to all human ships. All vessels maintain formation. Begin sensor sweeps for survivors. Commander Kim Soo-young worked at her station, analyzing what the sensors were showing them. Captain, I'm detecting large ships in orbit around the planet. They're not Krex warships, they look like prison ships. Dr. Choi Hana, who had been studying Krex communications for days, looked up from her console. Captain, I'm picking up transmissions from those ships. They're speaking Villani language. Survivors, Dong-yun said grimly. The Krex kept some of them alive. On the flagship of the human fleet, Admiral Yang was getting reports from all his ships. The Krex force in the system was smaller than expected, only about 200 ships, but they were all enormous. Each Krex vessel was 3 times the size of the largest human battleship. Admiral, reported intelligence analyst Park Hyun-woo, the Krex ships have noticed us. They're moving into formation. What kind of formation? It's strange, sir. They're just lining up in a straight line facing us. No tactical positioning, no attempt to flank or surround us. Admiral Yang frowned. This was not how humans would approach a battle. Human military doctrine emphasized using speed, positioning, and surprise to gain advantages over the enemy. The Krex seemed to be preparing for a simple head-to-head fight. Sir, called the communications officer, we're receiving a transmission from the Krex fleet. It's in galactic trade language. Put it on screen. The main display changed to show a large alien creature that was clearly not human. The being had thick gray skin and small dark eyes. It wore what looked like military decorations on its chest. I am War Leader Thoskar of the Krex Dominion, the alien said in a voice that sounded like grinding metal. You are in claimed Krex territory. Identify yourselves and state your business. Dr. Choi Hana quickly set up the translation system so Admiral Yang could respond in galactic trade language. This is Admiral Yang Wujin of the Human Defense Fleet. We are here to investigate reports of attacks on peaceful civilizations. War Leader Thuskar made a sound that might have been laughter. Humans? The Deathworlders? You are far from your dangerous planet. This system belongs to the Krex now. The previous inhabitants have been relocated. You mean enslaved or killed? Yang replied coldly. We prefer the term integrated into the Dominion. Thoskar said, but your meaning is understood. What concern is this to you? The Villani were not your species. Admiral Yang looked around his command center. His officers were all listening to this conversation, and he could see the anger in their faces. The Idea that one species could simply decide to destroy another was something humans found completely unacceptable. All intelligent life has the right to exist in peace, Yang said. The Villani sent out a distress call asking for help. We are here to provide that help. Thoskar's small eyes seemed to focus more intently on the screen. Fascinating. In all, our centuries of expansion, we have never encountered a species that would risk itself for unrelated beings. This altruism you display is irrational. Maybe to you, Yang replied. To us, it's what makes life worth living. Irrelevant, Thoskar said. You are outnumbered and outgunned. Your ships are small and few. Surrender now, and we will allow you to return to your death world. Refuse, and you will be destroyed along with the remaining Villani. Commander Suyong leaned over to Admiral Yang. Sir, our sensors show that about half the Krek ships are actually cargo vessels and prison ships. Only about 100 of them are combat ships. Yang nodded but continued talking to the Krek's commander. What happened to the Villani civilians? Some were useful as workers. Others were not. Thoskar seemed to enjoy answering. We keep the useful ones alive in our labor ships. The rest? Well, resources are limited. And the Villani children? Children consume resources without providing. Labor. They are inefficient. The bridge of Yang's flagship became completely silent. Every human officer was now staring at the screen with expressions of pure hatred. You killed children, Yang said quietly. Of course, it is logical and efficient. Admiral, Yang took a deep breath. In all his years of military service, he had never felt such anger. The Kreks were not just conquerors or even slavers. They were something that humans had a special word for: monsters. War leader Thoskar, Yang said in a voice that was perfectly calm but somehow terrifying. I am going to give you one chance to avoid complete destruction. Release all Villani prisoners immediately and withdraw from this system. Thoskar made that grinding sound again. Or what, Deathworlder? You will attack us with your tiny fleet? We have faced dozens of species. All of them talked bravely before. They died or surrendered. You have 1 hour, Yang said and cut the transmission. As soon as the screen went dark, Yang turned to his officers. I want options. How do we save those prisoners without getting them killed in the crossfire? Commander Suyong had been working on the problem. Sir, the prison ships are separate from the main Krek's battle fleet. If we can create a distraction, with the combat ships, a small force might be able to disable the prison ships and evacuate the Villani. How small a force? Captain Lee's ship and maybe 2 cruisers. Fast, precise strikes to disable their engines and life support systems without destroying the ships themselves. Fleet engineer Bae Taehyung looked up from his technical analysis. Admiral, I've been studying the sensor readings of Krek's ships. Their technology is actually pretty simple. Big, powerful, but not sophisticated. I think our ships can outmaneuver them easily. Pilot Commander Lim Jisoo added. Sir, my fighter squadrons have been analyzing their ship formations. They don't seem to understand 3-dimensional combat. They're positioning their ships like they expect to fight on a flat surface. Admiral, Yang considered all this information. The Kreks had larger ships and more firepower, but they had never faced an enemy that fought with tactical intelligence. More importantly, they had never fought humans who were motivated by pure moral anger. All ships, prepare for combat, Yang announced over the fleet communication system. Our mission is simple. Save the Villani prisoners and destroy every Krek's ship in this system. The hour passed quickly. True to their nature, the Kreks did not release the prisoners. Instead, war leader Thoskar sent another transmission. Your time is up, Deathworlders. We will now demonstrate why the Krek's dominion rules this galaxy. Admiral Yang watched as the Krek ships began to move forward in their simple straight line formation. On his tactical display, he could see that they expected the human ships to meet them head-on in a direct battle. Dr. Choi, Yang said, open a channel to the Krek's commander one last time. When Thoskar's face appeared on screen, Yang spoke with the voice of someone who had made a final decision. War leader, you asked what concern the Villani were to us. Let me explain something about humans. We evolved on a planet that tried to kill us every single day. We learned to protect each other because that was the only way to survive. Your point, Deathworlder? When you hurt innocent people in front of humans, you're not just attacking them. You're attacking everything we believe in. And we've had thousands of years to get very, very good at destroying things that threaten what we protect. Yang nodded to his communications officer, who cut the transmission. Then he turned to address his entire fleet. All ships, this is Admiral Yang. Today we fight not just for the Villani but for every peaceful species in this galaxy. Show them why our world made us who we are. All ships, engage. As the human fleet broke formation and began their attack, War Leader Thoskar realized he was about to learn why the rest of the galaxy called humans Deathworlders. The battle began unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Krek ships moved forward in their straight line, expecting the humans to meet them head-on. Instead, the human fleet split into dozens of smaller groups, each moving in different directions. War Leader Thoskar watched from his command ship, confused. What are they doing? Why do they not form a battle line? His tactical officer, also confused, replied, Unknown, War Leader. Their movements appear chaotic. But the human movements were not chaotic at all. Admiral Yang had split his fleet into attack groups, each with a specific mission. Captain Li Dongyun led a small, fast group toward the prison ships. Pilot Commander Lim Jisu's fighters spread out in three-dimensional formations around the two Krek's fleet. The main battle group, led by Admiral Yang himself, began a complex attack pattern that the Kreks could not predict. All ships, remember your training, Yang broadcast to his fleet. Use speed, use intelligence, and use the fact that they don't know how to fight a real war. Captain Li's ship, the Terra's Edge, raced toward the prison ships with two cruisers, following close behind. The Kreks had positioned these ships far from the main battle, thinking they would be safe there. Captain, reported Commander Suyong, I'm detecting life signs on all three prison ships. Thousands of Villani are still alive. Good, Dongyun replied. Bei, I need you to disable those ships without killing the prisoners. Fleet engineer Bei Tae-hyung, who had transferred to Li's ship for this mission, worked at his console. I can target their engine systems and life support controls. That will stop them from moving or fighting, but it won't hurt the people inside. Dr. Choi Hana was monitoring Krek's communications. Captain, the prison ship commanders are requesting orders from their fleet. They don't know what to do. That's because they've never faced an enemy that cared about saving lives, Dongyun said. Target the first prison ship. Precise shots. Only. The Terra's Edge fired its weapons with surgical precision. Instead of trying to destroy the enemy ship, the human weapons disabled specific systems. The prison ship's engines died. Then its weapons, then its communications. One down, reported Suyong. Moving to the second ship. Meanwhile, in the main battle, Pilot Commander Lim Jisu was showing the Kreks why human pilots were different from any enemy they had faced before. Her fighter squadrons attacked from above, below, and from sides that the Kreks had not even considered protecting. Red Squadron, attack pattern Delta, she ordered over the radio. Blue Squadron, hit them, from below while they're distracted. The Krek ships were large and powerful, but they were also slow and clumsy. Human fighters, small and fast, darted between the massive enemy vessels like insects around giants. Every time the Kreks tried to target one human ship, three others would attack from different directions. What is this? War Leader Thoskar demanded as his ships took damage from enemies they could barely see. Where are their battle formations? Why do they not fight properly? His tactical officer was frantically trying to track the human ships on his displays. War Leader, they appear to be using some form of three-dimensional combat tactics. Our ships cannot target them effectively. Impossible, no species fights in 3 dimensions. But humans did, because humans had evolved on a world where predators could attack from any direction. Human military tactics had been developed over thousands of years of warfare against other humans who were just as smart and just as creative. The Kreks, who had only fought against peaceful species that surrendered quickly, had never learned to adapt to an intelligent enemy. Admiral Yang's flagship led the main attack against the center of the Krek's fleet. His ships moved in coordinated patterns that confused and disrupted the enemy formation. Targets of opportunity, Yang ordered his gunners. Don't try to destroy them all at once. Disable their weapons, damage their engines, make them ineffective. The human strategy was working. Krek ships were being disabled faster than they could respond. But Admiral Yang knew this was only the beginning. Intelligence analyst Park Hyun-woo was monitoring long-range communications. Admiral, I'm picking up transmissions from deep space. It looks like the Kreks are calling for reinforcements. How many reinforcements? Unknown, sir, but the signals are very strong. It could be their main fleet. Admiral Yang considered this news. The human fleet was winning this battle, but they might not be able to fight the entire Kreks military. Keep monitoring those signals, he ordered, and send a message to Earth. Let them know what we found here. Captain Lee's group had successfully disabled all 3 prison ships and was beginning to evacuate the Villani survivors. Dr. Choi Hana was using the ship's translation systems to communicate with the rescued aliens. Captain, she reported, I'm talking to someone called Ketha 9. They're the one who sent the original distress call. What are they telling you? The Kreks have been doing this for hundreds of years, sir. They've destroyed dozens of civilizations. But Ketha 9 says something interesting. They've never fought anyone who fought back effectively. Commander Su Young looked up from her tactical display. That explains their formation and tactics. They're used to enemies that either surrender immediately or fight in simple, predictable ways. There's more, Dr. Choi continued. Ketha 9 says there are other species throughout the galaxy who have been attacked by the Kreks. Some of them managed to escape and are hiding in distant systems. A resistance network? Possibly, sir. But they've never had anyone strong enough to actually fight the Kreks until now. The battle in space was turning decisively in favor of the humans. War leader Thoskar's fleet was being systematically destroyed by enemies that fought unlike anything they had ever encountered. More than half of his ships were disabled or destroyed, and the others were scattered and confused. War leader, his communications officer reported, we are receiving a transmission from the human commander. Put it through, Thoskar ordered, though he no longer sounded confident. Admiral Yang's face appeared on the screen. Behind him, the Kreks could see displays showing their fleet being defeated. War leader Thoskar, this is your final chance to surrender. Your fleet is defeated and we have rescued the Villani prisoners. This is impossible, Thoskar replied. No species has ever defeated a Kreks fleet. You're right, Yang said. No species has ever defeated a Kreks fleet, but you've never fought humans before? What? What are you? We're the species that evolved on a planet that tried to kill us every day for millions of years. We learned to fight, to adapt, to protect each other, and to never give up when innocent lives are at stake. Thoskar looked around his damaged command center. His officers were staring at him, waiting for orders he did not know how to give. Surrender, and we will allow you and your crews to leave this system, Yang continued. Continue fighting, and we will destroy every ship you have. For the first time in Kreks military history, war leader Thoskar considered surrender, but before he could answer, his long-range communications officer spoke up. War leader, Supreme War Leader Keth Moros is responding to our call for help. The main Kreks battle fleet is coming. Thoskar's confidence returned slightly. How long? Until they arrive? 6 hours, War Leader. 3,000 ships. Yang, who was monitoring Kreks communications through Dr. Choi's translation systems, heard this news as well. He looked at his tactical officers, who were all thinking the same thing. 847 human ships against 3,000 Krek ships was not good odds. Admiral, called Park Hyun-woo, I'm picking up other communications too. It seems like news of this battle is spreading throughout the galaxy. Dozens of alien species are monitoring what's happening here. Are any of them offering to help? Unknown, sir, but some of the transmissions sound hopeful. Admiral Yang made his decision. All ships, prepare for extended combat operations. Send the rescued Villani to the edge of the system where they'll be safe, and send a message to the entire galaxy on all communication channels. What should the message say, sir? Yang looked at the display showing the disabled Krek ships and the rescued prison ships full of Villani survivors. Tell them that the age of the Krek's dominion is over. Tell them that anyone who wants to be free should come to this system and fight for it. As the human fleet prepared for the arrival of the main Krek's battle fleet, neither they nor the Kreks realized that this battle was about to become something much larger than a fight between two species. It was about to become the first galactic war in the history of the universe. 6 hours later, the main Krek's battle fleet arrived at the edge of the Thuro system, and it was a sight that would have terrified any other species in the galaxy. 3,000 massive warships, each one larger than anything humans had ever built, formed a wall of metal and weapons that stretched across space. Supreme War Leader Keth Moros, the highest military commander of the Krek's Dominion, stood on the bridge of his flagship and looked at the sensor readings with satisfaction. Only 847 human ships remain. They are outnumbered more than 3 to 1. Yes, Supreme War Leader, replied his tactical officer. War Leader Thoskar's fleet was unexpectedly defeated, but the humans cannot possibly stand against our full strength. These Deathworlders will learn that size of fleet matters more than clever tactics, Keth Moros said. Begin the attack. Destroy them all. Admiral Yang Wujin watched the massive enemy fleet approach on his tactical display. Every human officer in the fleet was thinking the same thing. This might be their last battle. But none of them were considering retreat. All ships, this is Admiral Yang, he broadcast to his fleet. We knew this moment would come. We are outnumbered, outgunned, and fighting an enemy that has conquered dozens of civilizations, but we have something they don't have. What's that? Sir? Asked one of his officers. We're fighting for something we believe in, and we're not fighting alone. As if on cue, Dr. Choi Hana called out from her station. Admiral, I'm detecting hyperspace signatures throughout the system. Multiple fleets are arriving. The first ships to appear were not impressive. They were clearly civilian vessels that had been hastily converted for combat. Some were cargo ships with weapons welded to their hulls. Others were exploration vessels with improvised armor plating. Sir, reported intelligence analyst Park Hyun-woo, I'm identifying ships from at least 20 different species. They're all broadcasting the same message. We stand with the humans. Admiral Yang stared at the display in amazement. Ship after ship was dropping out of hyperspace to join the human fleet. Some were species they had never seen before. Others were the same crystalline beings and aquatic creatures that Dr. Choi had identified from intercepted communications. There, Dr. Choi said, pointing to a group of familiar-looking ships. Those are Villani vessels, survivors from other attacks. Captain Lee Donghyun's voice came over the communication system from his ship. Admiral, I'm receiving a transmission from the Villani ships. It's Keitha 9, the one who sent the original distress call. Put them through, Yang ordered. The main screen showed a being that was clearly not human, but had intelligent eyes that showed both sadness and hope. When Keitha 9 spoke, Dr. Choi translated in real time. Admiral Yang, I speak for all Villani survivors. We have no warships, only cargo vessels and rescue ships, but we will fight beside you. You answered our call for help when no one else would. Now we answer yours. More ships continued to arrive. The crystalline Zephyrians brought vessels that could disrupt enemy communications. The aquatic benthics sent ships that moved in 3 dimensions better than anyone except humans. Peaceful species that had never fought before were arriving with whatever ships they could find. Supreme War Leader Keth Moros watched this development with growing concern. What is happening? Why are these inferior species gathering here? Unknown, Supreme War Leader, his communications officer replied. We are intercepting many transmissions, but most are in languages we do not understand. It doesn't matter, Keth Moros decided. We will destroy them all together. Begin the attack. The massive Krek's fleet began to move forward, but something unexpected happened. Instead of waiting to be attacked, the mixed fleet of humans and aliens began to spread out across the entire system. Commander Kim Soo-young, coordinating tactics from Captain Lee's ship, was amazed at what she was seeing. Captain, the alien, ships are following our tactical suggestions perfectly. The crystalline ships are jamming Krek's communications, the aquatic species are using movement patterns we taught them, and the Vallani are providing intelligence about Krek's ship weak points. It's like they've been waiting for someone to show them how to fight, Donghyun replied. Admiral Yang was discovering the same thing. Each alien species brought unique advantages that humans had never considered. The crystalline beings could disrupt electronic systems in ways human technology couldn't match. The aquatic species understood three-dimensional movement better than anyone. Even the peaceful Vallani knew more about Krek's technology than any human. All ships, Yang broadcast, to the entire mixed fleet, coordinate your attacks. Use your species' advantages but work together. Show the Kreks what happens when the galaxy unites. The battle that followed was unlike anything in galactic history. The Kreks, despite their overwhelming numbers, found themselves fighting an enemy they couldn't understand. Every time they adapted to human tactics, the crystalline ships would do something completely different. When they figured out how to counter the crystal beings, the aquatic species would attack from an unexpected angle. Pilot Commander Lim Ji-soo led her fighters in coordinated attacks with alien craft that moved in ways she had never imagined possible. "This is incredible," she reported to her squadron. "The alien pilots are teaching us maneuvers that work in zero gravity better than anything we developed on Earth." Fleet engineer Bai Tae-hyung was working with alien engineers to modify human weapons in real time. "Admiral, the Vallani engineers understand Krek's shield technology. They're showing us exactly where to hit for maximum damage." Supreme War Leader Keth Moros watched his fleet being systematically destroyed by an alliance he could not comprehend. "How are they doing this?" "Each species fights differently, but they coordinate like a single organism." Supreme War Leader, his tactical officer, reported, "We are losing ships faster than we can replace them. The aliens are sharing information and adapting to our responses in real time. This is impossible. No alliance like this has ever existed, but it was existing right in front of him. Humans were teaching other species how to fight tactically. The other species were teaching humans new ways to use their natural abilities. Together they were creating a fighting force that was greater than the sum of its parts." Dr. Choi Hana was coordinating communications between all the different species, and what she heard amazed her. "Admiral, the alien species are calling this the awakening. They're saying this is the day the galaxy learned to defend itself." The battle continued for hours, but the outcome was no longer in doubt. The Krek's fleet, despite its size, was being defeated by an enemy that fought with intelligence, creativity, and most importantly, unity. Finally, Supreme War Leader Keth Moros realized that his empire's reign was over. "All ships retreat," he ordered. "Fall back to Krek space." But it was too late. The Alliance fleet had surrounded the Kreks on all sides. There was nowhere to run. Supreme War Leader Keth Moros, Admiral Yang's voice came through the communication. "System, you are defeated. Surrender now and you will be treated according to galactic law." "There is no galactic law," Keth Moros replied bitterly. "There is now," Yang answered. "The species you've terrorized for centuries have united to create one. You will be the first to face trial under it." The surrender of the Krek's main fleet marked the end of their empire's expansion. Within weeks, news of the victory spread throughout. The galaxy and species that had been enslaved or threatened by the Kreks began to rise up. 6 months later, Captain Lee Dong-yun stood on the rebuilt surface of the Vallani homeworld, watching as representatives from hundreds of species gathered for the founding ceremony of the Galactic Defense Alliance. The meeting hall was filled with beings of every shape and size imaginable, but they all had one thing in common. They were free. "Captain," Dr. Choi Hana said, walking up to him with a smile, "Ketha 9 wants to thank you again. They say the Vallani will never forget that humans answered their call for help." "We didn't do it alone," Dong-hyun replied, looking at the mixed crews of human and alien engineers working together to rebuild the planet. "It took all of us working together." Admiral Yang joined them, carrying a communication device. "I'm afraid our celebration might be short-lived," he said. "We've just received another distress call." "From where?" Dong-hyun asked. "The other side of the galaxy. a species called the Threnodi. They're being attacked by something called the Void Cult. Yang looked at the communication device. They specifically asked for help from the alliance that defeated the Kreks. Dr. Choi Hana smiled. I guess our reputation is spreading. Captain Lee looked at the mixed fleet of human and alien ships in orbit above them, then at the thousands of species representatives working together on the planet below. The galaxy had learned to defend itself, but there was still work to do. All ships prepare for departure, he said into his communication device. It looks like the galaxy still needs its guardians. As the combined fleet of the new Galactic Defense Alliance prepared to jump to hyperspace, beings throughout the galaxy watched and knew that they were no longer alone. The age of the Kreks dominion was over, and the age of galactic unity had begun. And it had all started with a simple distress call that summoned humanity's war fleet to do what humans do best: protect those who cannot protect themselves.